This is a Cosmic Octave original podcast.
Me and Jake running down the street with a handful of comic books, kicking ass and banging chicks and drinking booze
No, not
and
me.
smoking
Not
weed.
me. I'm married.
Yeah, well,
I'm married.
Jake.
Can't do that.
Yeah. Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.
What's
That
happening?
was great.
Wow. Welcome
We
back.
didn't talk about who was going to start the show, did we?
Yeah, we didn't discuss that. But anyway, this is a special one-off. This is
Oh my god.
back in the day when the show was first starting. I would every so often I would do like half episodes. I would put 0.5 on them.
I wasn't invited.
Yeah, because you suck.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of them was for Halloween Kills, and
Yeah,
one of
I don't
them
care
was
about
for
that
the
movie.
Guardians of the Galaxy video
I
game.
don't care about that.
Yeah, so that's why you weren't on those shows. But anyway, we're doing the same format here. This is, and we wanted episode 100 to be something special. So this is episode 99.5, the Flash review.
Ooh.
And I don't have it pulled up, but this is going to be pretty spoiler heavy. So
Yeah, you know what? Honestly,
there's really no way to talk about this movie without
not
spoiling
really.
it.
Yeah. So,
Which, by the way,
no, we can give our thoughts on the movie before we do spoiler, but that's it.
I have mixed feelings about this movie.
Okay, well, do you want to start or I can? I know exactly what I want to say.
Well, I mean, I don't mind just jumping right into spoilers.
Right, but
Because I feel like people just want to just get to spoilers.
sure, but
It's ready to go.
you know, we in general before we do movies, we usually do our thoughts and then we do our
No. Fuck them. Yeah, what's your spoiler-free thoughts?
Believe it or not, I went into this movie, and I told you this before the movie. I
Yeah.
went into this movie more excited to see this than any other movie I've seen this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's weird because I'm a Marvel guy.
You hate on DC a lot.
I don't hate on DC. It's just, I mean, look, DC's
Could have
always
fooled me.
DC's always been some other universe, dude, because they're in Metropolis and Coast City and fucking whatever, dude, and Gotham City.
Yeah.
Fucking Marvel takes place in New York, okay? You know what I mean? Like, it's always been detached. So I've never been able to really ground myself into DC Comics. But there's also something about DC Comics that makes them other like fantastical on, you know, just on the surface because they don't live in the real world, like clearly.
But they have
But that's-
analogs to it. You know, Metropolis is New York. And,
sure.
yeah. But personally, I'm someone that likes it being fictional cities. Like, I understand the appeal of
Yeah, I don't mind.
having the idea of, like, especially if you live in New York, like, oh, Spider-Man's in my backyard, you know. I get that appeal,
Yeah.
but I tend to prefer that they're different. But I understand where you're coming from. Like, it's
good. It's a
another-
good thing and a bad thing.
it's already feels otherworldly to you.
I've never been because of that. I've never been able to really get into DC Comics, but when they go fucking out of this fucking world and shit, it's easy to follow along and jump on the ride because it's like, well, fuck, this ain't real anyway. You know? Does that make sense? It's good. It's a good thing and a bad thing for me. But
Well-
I prefer my stuff more grounded in the real world, like Marvel. That's all. But yeah, it is surprising because is this the first DC movie we saw this year, or no, Black Adam,
I just
or was that last year?
well, no, that was in October.
Shazam
we saw
was this
Shazam
year.
in March.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't give a shit about Shazam and Black Adam. I was,
Yeah.
okay. I wanted to see Dr. Fate, but this was the first DC movie I've seen in the theaters that I was excited for in a long time, which really makes it tough because we know who Ezra Miller really is, and he did a great job, and it was hard every time you were like, wow, what great acting. Immediately that thought comes up. He's their fucking dick.
Yeah.
And so on that moment, like, but again, I was pretty satisfied with the movie. Part of me was like, why did we even need to do this at all? But honestly, it's a great send off to all of the fucking old DC shit.
Yeah.
So, and we'll get to that in the spoilers, but I liked it a lot. I was a big fan. Went into it with high expectations and largely fulfilled. So
I think this is crazy because I feel like you and I are going to be a little bit different on this.
I liked it probably more than you did, I think.
Yeah,
I gotta
have
give,
some
I
thoughts.
gotta
on this
fuck.
movie.
I gotta agree with you if you're gonna talk about the CGI, because yes,
Oh yeah, well that's just fucking unacceptable. Like
9 years you took to fucking do this goddamn movie,
and
dude.
it's, I want to be very clear. The blame I put on is not on the visual effects artists because we know how they're treated in these
Right.
systems. But my thing is, you've delayed this movie time and time and time and time and time again. You had this movie announced 9 years ago, and all those delays, you guys couldn't work on the CG. Any other movie that I have seen that has been delayed by COVID tend to have a little bit better visual effects because it kept getting fucking delayed, so it gave them more time to work on
This
the
was
CG.
delayed by more than COVID. It was delayed for a while because nobody wanted to touch it. Because DC had no fucking idea what they were doing.
They went through like 4 or 5 directors.
Yeah, dude. And then COVID hit, man. You know what I mean? Like, COVID was a small part of the reason why this movie was such a fucking cluster.
I really think, and I've never been a stickler for shit like that, but that really just kind of it was like PS2 level graphics, man. It was fucking garbage.
It was jarring.
And you know what? They'll probably do it fucking what Disney and Marvel did with Thor, and they're gonna touch up the visual effects again for their streaming release. And you know what what it drives for me, and it gives me these like horrific like visions of what's gonna happen to the movie industry because it's already happened to video games. Where we're going to get in a situation where a lot of times now video games are released broken, not fucking sellable products that they are shilling out for $70 with the promise that, hey, in a couple months this game's going to be good. We're going to work on it and make sure it's good for you. I can already see that seeping into Hollywood. Sometimes it works out with like Sonic. Sonic looks great, and I liked how and I'm glad that they actually had time to work on that. But it's like you keep shelling this shit out, and you get bad CG. So I could forgive that with Marvel, but you had this movie on the shelf for like 2 fucking years, and that's what you produced. And then you have your director going out being like, well, it's supposed to be shitty because it's distorted because it's through the point of view of Barry, and like he sees things a little bit more distorted because he's going so fast and all this stuff. And I'm
That's really what he said?
Bullshit. Fucking bullshit.
Fuck
you guys.
off.
Are
you serious?
Warner Brothers is the fucking worst with this too, because they did the same shit. Every DCEU movie, they've done the same shit. Batman v Superman, we got a fucking standing ovation with DC executives. Black Adam got a round of applause with DC executives. Every fucking DC movie that gets released, it's the same shit, and it drives me insane. And I think that affected how I viewed this movie, because I watched this movie and I came out of it, I was like, it was good.
I don't blame you at all.
I mean, like, I was like, okay.
Like, what you're talking about, there are easy ways to suspend your disbelief in movies, but that is a jarring, like, it jars you out of the fucking movie. It jars you out of the story.
And they got...
I agree with you on that.
Dude.
So many times I would be like, change the scene so we don't have to look at this anymore.
This needs to be studied. I'm serious. This movie needs to be put in any class or any person that thinks this fucking deepfake technology is any goddamn good. Because if you look at this movie, they were so fucking lazy that or at this time, maybe Ezra was in fucking custody. And they just said, you know what, just ADR it. We'll fucking do a deep fake and put it on there. Because they couldn't be bothered to shoot the scene in a different way like everybody else did. When you have 2 characters in one scene, you have a stand-in and you, like, there's camera tricks. No, we got to make everything fucking CG. And it pisses me off. Because
it wasn't like that.
It looks bad.
It wasn't like that in every scene with the 2 of them, but a lot of them.
It was so goddamn bad, Tyler. We'll get to spoilers. But it was so bad that there were times that I was questioning what person was even standing in the fucking room, because none of it looked real. It all looked like shit.
The instances when I noticed it most was when he was in his suit.
Oh God.
And I don't know why, but it's almost like they had a dude in every shot with the suit on who was really muscular or whatever, and then from the neck up was Ezra Miller like deep faked onto it. It fucking looked horrible. And I was just like, what the fuck? You're standing still.
Yeah.
How are you? Like, or is this one of those stupid things like Thor Love and Thunder where they couldn't give fucking Jane Foster an actual fucking helmet? And it looked so fucking bad,
it's
dude.
lazy. It's lazy.
It's fucking lazy.
Because they don't want to hire somebody to a prop designer to design that. They don't want to go through it. They're just like, oh, fuck it. We'll just put it on there in post. And, you know, and again, I want to point the finger here. I want to point the finger at Marvel, because it started with them. You know, did you know that in Tom Holland's Spider-Man, he never actually wears that fucking suit?
No.
Only time he ever wears it. Only time he ever wears it is if you saw set photos, if there were like close-up shots. but most of the time he's wearing a full CGI suit.
Yeah, well,
Because that makes a lot of sense.
after Iron Man 2, Robert Downey was just like, I'm not wearing those anymore.
I can understand, like him. I
He
can.
stopped wearing mocap
Well,
suits.
he wore like a chest piece, but he never wore pants. Like it was always CG'd pants, like green pants.
Yeah, dude, he was like, I don't need to do any of this shit.
And it's not every shot is ugly. Not every shot is bad, but you cannot put. That's what I mean. But when this movie is actually being, has a cinematographer and has it being shot, it doesn't look bad. But there's just so many elements where I'm like, if you're gonna do this, find a different way to do it.
Yeah.
Like, let's get into it.
Yeah.
Pizza time.
All right, that's your cue to know spoilers. So if you haven't seen this movie, go watch it and then come back.
Pizza time.
All right. So when he goes into the multiverse, any time that he goes into the multiverse, when he goes into the Speed Force and he goes in the little bubble and it sets up everything, if you're gonna have it look that fucking bad,
Oh, dude, all of that shit was so fucking bad. You have those actors on set right now.
Tyler, I can't stress this to you enough. That looked like it was 2005 CGI. It was that bad.
Do you remember Final Fantasy, The Spirits
That's what it
Within?
looked-
Right? Am I right?
Or you know what I thought too?
Huh.
Matrix Reloaded, when he had all the Mr. Smiths.
Yeah. Oh God. Yes. It was just. It was yes, and they did that so many times in the movie, like 17, like.
Yeah,
8 times
my
they
point-
did that
okay,
shit.
Let's just, we're screaming and we got to calm down here.
I'm sorry,
No, because I'm glad we're worked up about it. But
but there were those actors were on
well,
set.
if you're gonna
like,
do that, then make it like just make it like all like
A
black
screen.
stone
Or a
'cause you
screen.
know how they did the thing with
Yeah,
Zod.
yeah.
You could do something that effect,
like the Kryptonian computers.
just make it look like stone or, sand
or just have
something.
screens like surrounding you. Like not even actual screens, but just loops of video.
Again, I hate to keep comparing it, but I think Spider-Verse did it so much better when they did the web and they showed all of the different things, all the different movies and all the things. And I am getting to this point, and we had talked about this for a couple of years now. Enough, all right? All right? The trend is over now. Stop it. And I know it's not going to happen because we got Secret Wars coming up. But having
Secret Invasion.
watched 2 multiverse movies back to back and seeing that that's been the trend with superhero movies, I'm kind of over it at this point because it's just nostalgia bait at this point, and I just can't handle it. I can't do it. It's just like, can we just fucking tell a singular story? Just tell me a story, please.
Can we talk about the 2 best parts
And
of
that's
this
not
movie?
this movie's fault. It's not this
Can we-
movie's fault that it got released around the same time as Spider-Verse.
Can
And
we-
I don't dock the movie for that.
Can we talk about my 2 favorite parts of this movie?
Yes, let's actually talk about things we liked about this movie.
I fucking loved the montage of different worlds when they showed us not only Christopher Reeve, but I also, is it Reeve or Reeves? I think it's Reeve. Christopher Reeve?
Reeve.
The guy who played it, yeah.
It's an S.
It's an S. It doesn't mean hope. But the best I know what you're talking about. But the other best part was when they show us what the fucking Bat or Superman Lives might have looked like. That was fucking cool, dude.
I just think it's funny that
was
he
cool
actually fought
as
the spider.
shit. Yes, but that's cool
Again, I wanted to like that shit, but I couldn't.
because the
'Cause
CGI
it looked so
was
bad.
It did look like shit. So fucking bad.
No, okay.
But it was still cool. Come on, And
Dude,
then-
I'm
and
telling
then-
you, it's to me.
And then Batman at the end. Come on, that's a great like. Hey, come on.
The George Clooney joke at the end was great. I enjoyed that. But first of all, I had a couple of these cameos spoiled.
Well, that's on you, man. I can't.
That's Twitter. I hate Twitter.
So which ones did you get spoiled?
I knew Nick Cage was in it,
Okay, that's it.
and I knew that Christopher Reeves was in it.
Well, that's not a big one.
Sorry, so I knew those 2 existed. I don't just put Brandon Routh in there, man. I just
Right.
Why are we resurrecting dead people?
By the
Stop
way,
it.
the whole post-credit scene. Fuck off. I don't know why we stuck around. I
there's
knew
a
it wasn't
purpose
going to
for that.
further. Why?
There was a purpose for that.
Yes.
What they were trying to establish there was to say what Barry was saying, that Aquaman is the same in every universe. It was trying to establish and this is how Flash leaves everything open and allows a multiverse, is what Barry is telling him is like, hey, I changed Batman, but I didn't change you. Some people will change, some things slide on the scale, some things don't.
Okay, I didn't listen. I couldn't hear any of it because it was just so, what the fuck is going on here?
So that is how they're going to say, like, some of the elements from the DCEU will be in the DCU and some things will be, you know.
You know what? You know what, DC? Why don't you just eat it?
Because you know what? That shit's not confusing. And you know what else isn't confusing? Saying this is on James Gunn. Blue Beetle is the first DCU character, but the first DCU movie will be Superman Legacy, which makes no sense because how are you introducing? Anyway, that's broader DC. I did enjoy this movie. There are things that I did enjoy. I think Keaton is. It's amazing how he just picks that character up like he never left it and just plays that character, very well. And this is the problem I run into with the Flash as a character. He doesn't have a lot of great villains because you can't do much with a speedster. So it's pretty telling to me
because all of his villains are speed related.
So it's pretty telling to me that his first movie is not a solo movie still. It's a team-up movie because Batman's in it and Supergirl's in it. And but it works for this movie's benefit because I really dug Supergirl and Batman. I liked the Keaton and
you could do
the
Flash
Sasha.
and Captain Cold, man. What the fuck?
Whatever. That's just my opinion. I never was a huge Flash guy.
So all of a sudden the DC guy is just shitting on the Flash, one of the tent poles of the DC
There's
universe.
only 3 that matter, and that's Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
Wow.
Everybody else,
wow.
You could just take off Green Lantern, take off. No, I'm kidding. I like all of them.
So why do you have 9? Why do you have 12 squares? You only need the 3 in the middle.
I know, that's what I thought.
No. You know what I
Why
thought?
the hell is Black Adam on there?
I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Shazam.
I don't know, man.
Cause look.
Look at his hair. Look at his hair.
Wait, Superman.
We're looking at. Let's focus on the movie.
Superman.
Let's focus on the movie. Let's bring it back.
The Flash is supposed to be red, but his is all black. See? Okay, it's an artistic choice. Thank you.
Because his background's red.
But so is Shazam.
Okay, can we do the fucking show, please?
I thought it would have been cool if when they were talking about you want to get nuts, let's get nuts. If they brought in like a bunch of other, like DC heroes, like Martian Manhunter, or Green Arrow, or Hawkgirl or some shit.
I think the thing that gets me, what surprises me, is how much I did enjoy Ezra Miller's performance.
They were great.
I think,
unfortunately, because they are pieces of shit. Apparently, they are a piece of shit. How do you say that?
They are
a piece of shit. Yeah, because
there is a conjunction.
Uh-huh.
And that's welcome back to Schoolhouse Rock.
Welcome back, Cotter.
Different show. Anyway, this is off the rails. I think that when you had the 2 Barrys on screen, it worked. I think that was really funny because you have the older Barry that's kind of like the big brother, and then the dipshit teenager Barry.
There were a lot of great movie moments within those interactions. A lot of them.
Another good example of a scene that is funny for 2 reasons. It's meant to play for laughs, but it's funnier to me because of how ugly it is, and how bad it looks. The first thing we see, that the heroic thing that Flash does, he saves a bunch of babies that fall out of a collapsing building.
Already we've seen like
the setup is
4 or 5 bad shots of CGI of his costume. Already we've seen
before
this.
That. It's a pretty comical setup, and then because obviously they're not going to drop all these fucking babies in this movie, he's going to save them. But it is a funny concept because of how each time he looks at a baby, they're in like a really like almost cartoonish precarious situation.
Yeah.
And it works because it's funny, but I'm laughing even harder because they literally look like toy baby dolls. Like, for real, don't even look human. And I'm just, again, all these delays. This movie was done like 2 years ago.
There was somebody posted on Twitter an AI generated Toronto Blue Jays promotional video, okay? It was all AI generated. It is fucking horrific. Like, it is horrific because, AI does not understand like human anatomy at all, and like people's faces are getting elongated like during the shots. None of them are real people, obviously. But then they show a kid eating a hot dog, and then it becomes part of his face, and then everybody's like just launching mustard and ketchup out of their mouths. Like it's weird, right?
Yeah.
And that is exactly what I thought. Every time they showed a baby, I was like, well, that's an interesting way to portray a baby that doesn't look like a baby. That's an interesting way to portray.
They look so plastic.
Terrible, fucking terrible. The scalpels looked better.
But you know it's a running bit that's always been a running one with Flash, and I've always thought it was smart and funny. I do love that he has to like eat all the time. Because he burned so many guys, and in that scene, that was funny. Like that was great. Like
when he goes into the
there's so many things.
The vending machine.
There's so many things I like, and this is where I think DC should have been going in the first place, because you can, and it proves it can be a comic book and be cheesy and ridiculous and over the top, but not feel like a Marvel movie. Because this didn't feel like a Marvel movie at all.
No,
it has its tropes because that's the genre, but it didn't feel like a Marvel movie. And it's like, see, you fucking idiots, you don't have to be edgelord dark shit to be different than Marvel. And there's so many. This is what's so frustrating about loving DC. I feel like a jilted lover because so many times I believe that they're going to get it right. And then they fucking
They're gonna
don't.
come back.
And so when a movie like this happens, it's kind of weird. Where it's like, oh, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I mean, again, like...
And I was like, why weren't you doing this in the first place? What were you thinking?
We they played with a lot of different stuff. They had... They played with a lot of different things, which was kind of interesting. But yeah, like... I think a big mistake was in the first Man of Steel, it's shown that Zod and his people can't breathe the air or something.
They eventually adapt to it, but yes, at first they can't.
Okay, right. So my thing is that you know the CGI is bad, so maybe during the Kryptonian battle, you don't make everybody wear a fucking plasteel helmet and make it look worse.
Yeah.
Whoever played the girl Kryptonian, the general, fuck her name.
Yeah.
But she's like, there's always been the big three bad Kryptonians: Zod, and then the big dude who is usually
the one that they call the super giant.
Whatever, yeah. But he was the one guy in the original Superman. Woo, he didn't talk. And then they have the girl, right? Ursula, I think. But every time they showed her, it was just so like, that's not her. Like, that's deep faked somehow. Like, they didn't even ask her to come back for it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean, Michael Shannon did a good job with what he had.
Well, he had nothing.
Nothing! Right? They gave him nothing, dude. And he's just like, it's just like, thank you for trying.
Well, I thought that was a good bait and switch because in the trailer you feel like, oh, we're going to see a world where there's no Superman and Flash has to fight Zod and Supergirl has to fight. Like that's what's sold to you, but that's not really the villain because the villain just turns out to be Barry, which... Okay, so the end of the movie, the third act, because we're gonna kind of jump around, but I don't want to jump straight to the third act.
It's fine. Go ahead.
But no,
dude, I jumped to the third act when I talked about Clooney. Go ahead.
Because it was just funny because whenever we talk
Anybody
about
who's
movies,
to
we kind of
this-
just jump all
Right.
over.
Well, anybody who's listening to our show to get like a synopsis of the movie, you fucking out of luck, dude.
You lost.
You lost.
Go to a different pod.
You're
if you don't like it, get out.
You're listening to us because we have a better take than anybody else because we're hilarious.
Wow.
And also we love
Bold.
comics more than anybody.
And we're humble. Very humble.
You are.
Speak for yourself, pal.
Speak for yourself. I'm fucking rad as shit.
No. So
Anyway.
so that final fight.
Yeah.
Oh, even before that, when we finally get to see Batman, Michael Keaton's Batman. Also, there's some things I really liked with those two performances, but with Affleck and Keaton. But when you finally get to see him, and I know, and I leaned over and I told you, I'm like, this is so fucking nostalgia bait.
Oh yeah.
But I love it.
Oh yeah.
And there's just some, like, this is just the game we play where it's like you can critique something for being nostalgia bait, but at the same time you can still enjoy certain things that are done well. And I think they really did a good job of introducing his Batman, even in some of the shots that we already see in the trailer. But like that fucking Danny Elfman theme still to this day
So
is
many times.
so good.
It is really good.
And DC is always even with the Snyder movies in the DCEU, DC's been really good about incorporating themes into those scenes. Where now we're seeing, like, Marvel was doing it, but I think it was more noticeable in those Snyder movies, and then I started to see it more, hear it more in Marvel movies now. But like, man, and it's such nostalgia, but it's so fun because it's fun to see. Like I said earlier, it's fun to see Keaton in that role and still bring that level of his version of Bruce Wayne. And like, one thing that I will give this movie credit for, and as I know I earlier complained about multiverses, and it's only because I feel like we're getting too much of it. I'm never against multiverse stories, but I find the multiverse stuff interesting. But you have to do it right, and I think this movie does a good enough job of, in the less time that Affleck has, I think there's still a scene there and a couple scenes where you can establish, like, this is his Bruce. But you're catching, like, oh, this is Keaton's version of Bruce, but that through line of that character is still there. And they even call back to it in the same lines, because he says, not tonight, kid, not today, kid, maybe another time. Same exact thing, like, and that's how they bring in the whole bridge or the canon events. I mean, Bridge Point, or was it Intersection Point? I
don't remember.
I'm just saying it's kind of crazy to go from 2 multiverse movies in 2 weeks. But I really liked that first scene too, because it was fun to see Batman, like, it was like he was babysitting, because Barry doesn't have his powers yet, and then the younger Barry has never done it before, and like, it's just funny to see, like, Grandpa Batman come in and just beat the shit out of those Russian soldiers. And
oh yeah, dude.
And I know most of that example of how you do CG right. Get a character that wears darker clothing and they're not as bright, and then you can get away with the very obvious CG, because there's no fucking way Keaton is moving like that.
I tell you, my favorite costume in the movie was Affleck's fucking batsuit. Because it was a weird
armored suit.
It was a weird combination of, like, Dark Knight Return. There was a lot of Dark Knight Returns to it, because in that in that comic book, he does have more of the blue than the black.
It's cool to see the blue in this, yeah.
And honestly, I liked how they made his nose look kind of fucking broken as shit, like broke to shit. I thought that was kind of cool. I was like, but I liked, that was my favorite costume out of the whole
really
movie.
dug the blue cowl and cape. That was
right?
sick.
Oh.
Well, it's because we've never seen it before. Like, that is, say what you will about, again,
it's like a darker version.
For all the faults of the DCU, there are some things they did get right.
Yeah.
And Affleck's look, like in Batman v Superman, that Frank Miller look, and yeah, like you said, calling back to that look, but also having the blue look, because both are in the book.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see both versions of it. But yeah, we never saw the gray like that, and we're like, oh wow, it's almost like comic books are a visual medium, and they kind of have it right with their colors and how these characters look.
Why are we making them so drab in the movies?
That being said, there are some things that translate that are in a book that aren't going to translate. Like, you cannot do Captain America's traditional costume and not look silly
with the
as
big
shit.
Buccaneer boots and shit.
There's no way. And the fucking little wings on his head.
Yeah, right?
That ain't going to work.
They don't even have those in the comics anymore. It's painted on now, because it's like, that's stupid.
Because the movies were like, we're just going to paint it on. And they're like, well, good idea.
So they made a Captain America movie, tangent. They made a Captain America movie back in the 80s, and it's fucking horrendous, right? And the problem is that they made him a cowl, and it hurt his ears. So what they did was they made another cowl with PVC ears on the side. So he wore a cowl with fake ears on the side. If you can't tell me that somebody in that production office should have been fired, I don't know. But I'm glad that they didn't try for the wings.
Also, I want to say this is the best version of this Flash's suit.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate some of the shots don't look great with it.
The thing that's most of the shots were like the head and the body are just not connect. They're different people. Yeah. That was my big issue with the CGI more than anything. Whenever they were showing close-ups of him, like, you know, in the Speed Force, like, it was just like different parts. It was like they took 2 different clips of people and put them on top of each other. It's like,
I think that's just a challenge of the characters. How do you not make that look hokey? And like, because look, when he's in the multiverse and he's running in place, it's easier. I think it's easier to translate that on a page than it is in a movie.
Absolutely. I will say this: the artistic choice to The artistic choices that they took in how to depict Flash running, I thought were great. I really like how he's got this thing going on with the two fingers. That was cool. And he starts running and then he kind of just slows down a little bit, And
then I like it when he does the skirt on the heel when he like slides.
Right, but I mean, I thought, how do you portray that on screen, right? Quicksilver, they did a really good job in the X-Men movies of portraying that. But it's like two big set pieces. We have a movie in two different movies. We have a movie here where a lot of the set pieces are him running around fast. So how are we going to do this and not make it look hokey, not make it look stupid, and also keep people's attention? Well, let's do it like this. That first part where he's running to Gotham City, I was like, all right, I'm in. This is pretty fucking cool.
The needle drop and having that like punk rock style, like fast paced music, and then going past the streets. Yeah, that was cool. I dug that.
Yeah, he just went from wherever he was to Gotham.
And I thought they did some creative things with that. And and at the end of the day, they understand that like you're just gonna have to do a lot of slow motion shots because they're a speed character, and the only way to slow him down is do slow mo. That's gonna happen.
But I thought I thought portraying him running like really super fast. Again, how do you portray that and still keep the character in frame and shit and not, right? That's the best way to do it. And I if there's one artistic choice that I applaud, because we've shit on a lot of them so far, I would say that the decision to kind of, show him running regularly and then all of a sudden he's in the Speed Force and he's just, like that was cool. His little goggles come on.
Makes sense.
That was cool.
You don't want bugs in your eyes.
The bug. There were a lot of funny moments.
There's some funny jokes. Yeah.
A lot of funny moments.
But it just is like, because they were trying so hard to catch Marvel and try so hard to be different. I think that really fucking and now we are again at this point where I had to, on this very podcast, explain to you the whole point of that fucking end credit scene, because if you aren't, and you know how I figured out the point of it? That article that I looked up to see if there was an end credit scene, right? It already had an explanation on that article, so I scrolled down. I was like, well, okay, that makes sense.
It does make sense, but to me, it was like, I don't fucking care. I could have been taking a piss by now.
Yeah, I know.
No, one girl in front of us got up as soon as the movie ended, went, took a piss.
Came back.
She did something, and then came back. Plenty of time.
Yeah.
There was like 5 minutes still left.
There's a lot of people that work on these movies.
And I was like, God damn it, I should have followed her lead. Shit. I could have been peeing.
I think the humor works pretty well. And again, it's frustrating because Ezra is likable in this movie. Very likable.
Really likable. There's a lot of moments where they show like human like emotion, you want an actor to do on screen.
The ending was beautiful.
Oh, killed me.
And again,
broke me.
I think there's times where this movie makes obvious choices. It makes like very broad choices. And then there's times where it makes really good, solid artistic choices. And you're right. I have been shitting on the CG because I just think some of it's unacceptable. But
I almost turned to you after like the second shot of him in the suit and was like, is this the fucking way this is going to be? I'm serious.
And this is why
I knew we were thinking the same thing.
And that's why I came in so angry, because I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
I just feel like that bogs it down a lot.
It took you out of the movie. And like, dude, I know you well enough to know that you and I were thinking the same fucking thing as soon as we saw that bad CGI, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I knew I didn't need to turn to you, but there was a moment during like the second shot that he was in his suit that I was like, I can't deal with this.
Yeah.
That I was about to turn to you and be like, dude, is this going to fucking be the Roy All movie?
Yeah.
And it was.
Well, another thing I want to applaud this movie for is, while I joked earlier that it's a team-up movie, it's still Barry's movie.
It is, a lot.
It's still Ezra's movie.
A lot.
And I think that works for it. And like, because some of the best, like the Batman stuff's really fun.
Yeah.
But that final fight, if you're paying attention, Supergirl doesn't really do much. She just smacks him with a big piece of ship. And Batman, he kind of, his big moment was in the big fight scene before that.
Yeah.
So this is more focused on the two Barrys, and it works well. And like, again, like we're talking about, I agree with you how they depicted how he moves and how they made choices to, okay, this is going to be, which is going to be a slow-mo shot. This is going to be how we're going to do the multiverse. Well, this is how he's the first time you see him run, this is how he's going to do it.
Right.
and then when they're together. And I think this was so fun, and I caught it in the I noticed it in the trailer, and I see it here. Like, I love the fact that they distinguish them by their lightning.
Yeah,
like that was
blue
all
and red,
blue and gold. And I was like, that's cool. I like that a lot.
Was it blue and gold? I thought it was blue and red.
It was a gold.
Because
he's his
no, I don't doubt.
Well, it's
yeah.
the yellow off it. The yellow lining off his suit is
yeah, I get you. But I actually thought it was kind of a backhanded reference to that stupid Superman that they had like back in the '90s, where it was one blue and one red.
Oh no, I guarantee it was just so you could distinguish them. But I think that is pretty funny. Oh, and his whole suit. Like, I love the fact that the younger Barry doesn't have a suit, so he makes one. He makes a makeshift suit out of a Batman suit, and then the quick cut to.
So yeah, they do the whole montage or whatever, and it's really like cool. It's like
yeah, he's spray painting and stuff. Yeah,
there was a lot of that's an artistic choice that's made to be like, hey, this would be kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's a little silly that, like, and again, there are
he's making a flash suit out of a
for all
Batman
the shit
suit.
that I've talked in this movie. There are moments when I'm sitting there thinking like, that's a funny scene, but then then another thing hits me of like, we're watching a Flash movie with two Barrys in it, and one of them is wearing a reinforced bat suit as their suit. I'm like, little shit like that is where I kind of come out of my anger stage and be like, that's like 10-year-old me would have never thought. One, that we'd probably see a Flash movie, but B, a Flash movie with not one but two Batman in it, and all this other stuff.
3,
and
technically,
yeah, with Clooney. And so that stuff isn't lost on me. It's just there.
Shit, did we pizza time yet?
We've been pizza time this whole time, but that's not lost on me, man. Pizza I do, again. There are a lot of things that I really enjoy about this movie. There's just. And showing Christopher Reeves and showing, like, the Nick Cage stuff was fine. I thought that was cool. Had I not that spoiled for me, that would probably blow my mind. Because when I thought he said they found Kal-El, when Zod said that, I thought he was talking about that's where the Nick Cage cameo was. Is what I thought it was going to be. Because I was like, this is going to blow your fucking mind.
That would have been fucking cool as fuck.
I just wrote a better thing. You're welcome, Warner Brothers.
And you know what? You wouldn't have had to CGI Nick Cage in. You would have been like, hey, if you want to be on set, otherwise fuck off. I mean, I know you're Nick Cage, but we're not going to use CGI.
We can get a Brandon Routh. We could get a different Superman. We can get Brandon Routh. We can get Henry Cavill.
We can get fucking Dean Cain.
No chance.
The racistest Superman. He's the most racist Superman.
Truth, justice, and the American way.
Fuck you, Dean Cain.
And that's been the podcast.
Most of my life has been
Can that be the new thing? So,
hey, I'm Dean Cain. I was naturally blessed and lucky to get good looking and hunky. And I translated that by not really doing anything other than looking like Superman. And then I decided, you know what? I'm smart, and I'm going to start telling people what I think. And now my career's over.
Anyway,
what happened?
Back to the Flash.
What happened?
That was a Flash diversion. Flash in the pan.
What happened?
So let's talk about, to wrap it up, I am okay with it being as different as it is and taking ideas from Flashpoint, but being its own thing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they didn't call it Flashpoint. They just called it Flash to just be like, this is not that.
Because
it has ideas from that, but it's not that. When it was
first announced, it was the Flashpoint.
Yes.
And they were well, fuck.
This was always, by the way,
how many movies were in
2017, this after Zack left Justice League,
yeah,
this was always the plan.
Right, to reset.
There was always going to be a Flashpoint storyline.
Reset, yeah.
So
I'm a little disappointed we didn't get to see Thomas Wayne Batman.
Yeah, I would have loved to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Punisher
and
Batman.
And fucking Lauren Cohan as the Joker.
I don't like that. That's the one thing in Flashpoint I don't care for, is Martha Wayne being Joker.
Why?
Not a huge fan.
It makes so much sense.
It makes sense, but I don't like it. That's not how I choose to remember.
I just don't like you anymore.
That's not how I choose.
That's not how I choose to remember Martha.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Save Martha.
Dean Cain.
I'm
still thinking about the Dean Cain reference. Hey, I'm Dean Cain.
I'm Dean Cain.
I'm a bad guy.
I'm an idiot.
What were we talking about? Oh, Flashpoint. Yeah. I wish they would have done Reverse Flash,
Yes.
but
But that would have been too much like I mean,
the Dark Flash stuff makes sense with the themes of the movie of Barry fucking it up.
talk about an artistic choice, right? Because when they first show, okay, let's talk about this real quick before we move on.
Yeah, because this will lead to the twist.
In the Flash, Barry Allen, in the comics, the Reverse Flash has always been the one who goes back and kills his mom. That's always been the story.
Yes.
Okay.
Flashpoint has
in
always been
almost all of the Barry Allen iterations.
Yes.
However, in this one, a guy that they did make him look a lot like, kind of reverse. You know what I mean? A little
Yeah.
bit. Like when they first showed him, when he kicks him out of the Speed Force, I was like, okay, that's an interesting way to portray Reverse Flash because that's what I thought it was.
Mhm.
And
Or I
then-
thought it was like Zoom or something like that. Yeah.
whoever, yeah, one of the speedster villains. And I was like, okay, cool, that's neat, whatever. And then as they kept showing it and everything, I was like, okay, well, you don't really have enough time to like get into this whole Professor Zoom
because you never introduced him before,
Right.
And yeah.
So then probably a minute or two after you caught on to it because I was kind of heading that way.
So it's this dude with all these spikes and the
It was
purple.
pretty much when they revealed him that I got it because they told us.
Because at the end of
I
that
didn't
third act
guess.
fight, which I thought was smart, where they kept saying like, okay, we got to keep going back and fixing it. And it's like kind of but they did a smart thing and not do more than 2 times of the loop, and that's where. When Batman is dying in Barry's arm and he says, "Not today, kid, maybe some other time," that's when Barry has a realization of like, oh, this universe is meant to die, which is fucking morbid because it's this is the universe where the heroes lose. We can't stop it. It's going to happen. And then that's when he starts to realize, oh, my mom has to die. I can't change that because if I change it, it destroys the multiverse. Because Dark Flash is me from it's me trying to fix everything because you're seeing younger Barry take shards on him when he's fighting Zod different times, and then as soon as I saw
I liked the costume of Dark Flash. It was kind of organic a little bit.
As soon as it showed the shards, I'm like, oh, that's when
the one in his forearm was a big clue.
And
after the fact,
and my thought had to be, it has to be Barry because there's nobody else.
Yes,
and you've
There's no other
established nobody
speedsters.
is breaking the Speed Force right now, so it had to be him from a different timeline. So now, and then it's like, oh, so here's the paradox, and I enjoyed that twist. I liked it. It was a great example of a trope kind of being obvious, but I was like, it was still made sense narratively because you can't just fucking shoehorn in Reverse Flash at the very end of your third act. It's just not going to happen.
There's got to be some exposition at some point in that movie before he shows up, and there was none.
I would have liked more. I would have liked to see, and I understand why they didn't because you can't get everybody. Because we get a scene of Wonder Woman at the beginning.
That was cool.
It was cool. I was just surprised. Oh, and that was funny. The last little truth bit. He's like, I don't have a problem taking credit for.
I'm aware that sex exists, but I've never experienced it.
That was a metaphor.
You just don't come back from that.
Yeah, you just don't come back from it.
There were a couple of bits in the movie when you think about what Ezra Miller is in trouble for that I thought should have been cut out. The teenage girls freaking out over him.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
And then there was another point where it was just kind of a creepy moment.
And I want to be very clear.
And it was like,
I want to be very clear. It's the same shit I said about Hogwarts Legacy and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to see this movie because you enjoy The Flash and you can accept the fact that Ezra Miller is a shitty person and you don't care, you want to see The Flash, fine.
Go for it.
I don't care. I saw this movie because I wanted to see a DC movie. I wanted to see and on the other side of that coin, if you don't want to see this movie because of Ezra Miller, fine. That's totally your prerogative.
I
was conflicted about this movie.
Can I say one thing? If you are somebody who is absolutely done with Ezra Miller, like as an actor, as a human being, everything, right? If you are, do not go see this movie. You want to know why? Because you might start thinking they're an okay person again.
Yeah.
Because of how good they are in this movie.
Especially the end. The final scene that he has with his mother is fucking
I was bawling.
It was heartbreaking.
I was bawling.
Beautiful scene.
Oh my God.
Beautiful scene. And
So
it works so well.
So keep your hate for Ezra Miller intact. Don't go see
But
this.
the problem is it works so well because Ezra does a great performance in that scene.
He's a great actor.
And you, again, like you said,
Shitty human being, great actor.
I want to make that very clear as we're wrapping it up. You and I have been very vocal on this podcast. We don't condone the shit they've done, and I won't condone the shit that they've done. I even said on the last podcast it was fucking white privilege that they got to walk the fucking red carpet. You kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
You know how many people are in jail for a lot less shit that they did? And they did some really heinous shit, and they're just allowed to walk on. So that's not lost on me either. And I, in a way, I'm kind of like, that is pretty funny that this movie is not doing well financially. But another way, I'm upset because I love DC and I love those characters. And then another way, I'm like, who fucking cares? It's getting reset anyway.
I think honestly, like Gunn. If I was Gunn when I came on, my first thing would be like, are we doing Flash? Okay. I am not responsible for any of that shit. In other words, if it fucking bombs, I still got my job.
And the movie itself narratively is set it up that anybody could portray Flash, anybody could portray
yeah.
So
it's just exactly like what other movie did it so that we could was it Multiverse of Madness?
Something like
that established that you can have any actor.
Well, I think all of these movies are. I think. And this is why multiverses are a trend, because everybody's getting out of contracts, and Marvel doesn't do long-term contracts, DC doesn't do long-term contracts. So I understand why they exist.
Did you know?
So you had to explain to an audience why this Batman is this Batman and this Batman is that Batman.
Did you know that they are coming out with a Lego set that
I'll
is
drink your blood.
The final battle in No Way Home?
Oh.
It's literally like this much of the Statue of Liberty. Dude.
Like
Like this much.
Yeah,
and then like all three Spider-Mans. Okay, it's about
as tall as
a foot high, about a foot high. And then they have all three Spider-Men. They have the new Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe as his thing.
Without the helmet.
Right. They have they have a really kick-ass version of Electro, which is the closest to his comic book that's ever been, which I'm super excited about. Doc Ock, Alfred Molina version.
Nice.
And then I think they also have Ned in the Cape and MJ.
Can we wrap this up now?
I'm fucking done with you. Yeah.
So I'm gonna say Tyler says
It's time for a It's time for a Burger King original chicken sandwich.
And when I say
OCS.
I say
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
I don't know what's gonna happen.
Universe, dude.
Sorry.
Jesus.
I need more DC drops. I gotta say that I have no idea what. I am optimistic for what James Gunn is going to do with DC based on the stuff that I've heard him say. I want to watch the podcast he did with Michael Rosenbaum, but just of other interviews I've seen where he's answered questions for Guardians 3 and stuff, where the way that he describes Superman gives me a lot of hope. And yes, the S stands for Superman, not hope. Can we stop that shit? His brother, Tyler's brother, tweeted that, and I couldn't agree more.
Gorgo forever on Twitter. Tweeter.
All the tweeter.
Gorgo forever on Twitter. He posted a picture of Christopher Reeves doing like the Superman.
Yeah.
And it said, "Hey, can we stop this shit?" It means. And so when that part of the movie came up, we're the only ones in the theater laughing because it's a serious
Supergirl
moment.
Points at her logo and she goes, "You know what does this stand for?" And Barry's like, "Oh, I heard it stands for hope." And we're like, because I hate it. It's Supergirl. It's Superman. Come on. Anyway, we both enjoyed this movie. It does have its faults.
I'm excited for what's coming from the DC universe based on this. Although you better fix your fucking CGI,
and
bros.
I've said this as maybe a negative to this movie, but I'll also say it here. It is different than Across the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
It doesn't feel like that movie. It doesn't feel like a Marvel movie. It does feel like a DC movie. And I'll be honest, we haven't had those in a long time. And I am a little bit more. I think Blue Beetle is going to be really fun. I'm optimistic about that. I'm not.
Oh, fucking Ted Cord truther. No, not even that. The previews make it look so like a DC
comic book.
No, not a comic book.
You're not as hype.
I'm hopeful for the Blue Beetle movie.
It looks fun.
I'm hopeful.
Just like
I'm hopeful. I like that actor. He was in Cobra Kai.
Anyway, yeah, but I have a strong feeling that Aquaman's gonna suck. I'll be honest.
The new one?
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be good.
When is it supposed to come out? This Christmas?
Yes.
We haven't seen anything about it.
Yeah, I know. It probably says a lot about how. Because remember, this movie Flash was like, oh, you couldn't shut the fuck up about Flash, and now I'm like Aquaman.
I could write a book about what you don't know.
Well, you know, you get what you.
Oh.
I got what I paid for.
I was trying to get.
I don't want to do that shit.
I just want to wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up.
Go see the Flash in a flash.
Go
man.
see the Flash. Don't make sure that you bring some cash.
Cause hey,
you go
you gotta
sit
see
on
the
your
Flash.
ass watching the Flash. Gotta spend some cash.
I got nothing.
Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.